Communication Officer, Sami Jimfi, there speaking to some of the policies, ideas, and vision of former President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. This was at the NDC's campaign launch, official campaign launch in Winneba. We're joined on the telephone lines now by Professor Kobi Mensah, Political Marketing and Communications Specialist at the University of Ghana Business School. Prof, hello, good morning to you.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us on the program. I'll get stuck straight into it. What were your initial, or shall I say, general impressions of the NDC's manifesto launch in Winneba?
Thank you. I think that they offered a very well coordinated program, and for the first time seeing an exhibition of the policies that they actually promoting in the manifesto. As a marketing person, I think that it was very impressive. Of course, in the past, they've done a policy exhibition before, but wasn't at a manifesto launch. This is a new edition, and I think it was very commendable. Now, I also thought that they were quite clear in their proposals. Obviously, very extensive proposals, very ambitious in terms of what they're seeking to do with clear timelines. And of course, you had beyond or apart from the flag bearer and the running mate, you had other people also speaking to various areas of the policy of the manifesto, which I thought that it was a very a detailed one. So, and I think that they did a very good job. Of course, everybody is actually waiting for implementation, and I'm thinking that the concerns of people had always come back to whether the politician would be very, very conscious enough to implement. Look, we have very good intentions. We had always promised these things, and when I say we have, I mean that the country, the leadership of this country, always come out with very good intentions. All right. In the end, we get disappointed as people. When we have our hopes very much, at the top there, but then when they come into power, then there are excuses, etc.
That's right.
That this time it wouldn't be the case, that the politician would indeed hear the cries of the people and accordingly implement these things. Look, we have been talking about this country's potential for far too long.
That's right.
We have been talking about this country's ability to actually go beyond even the expectations of the West about Africa for far too long. We've been the leaders of this continent in many ways, but we keep disappointing ourselves because we're not true to ourselves. And so these are laudable things that they said, these fantastic programming, coordination, fantastic. Look at the hopes of the people at the program. People were so excited. And in the end, if you have to disappoint them, you have to ask yourself, have you really been true to yourself? So for me, fantastic program,
right.
But it comes back to the politician. Please, would you implement it? And that's what we're waiting for.
And a lot has been said about the fact that the NDC's manifesto was presented with some timelines, at least, with many adding that adds to accountability. So overall, Prof, you would say that the manifesto launch was effective in terms of communication and presentation. Let's talk about the target audience. Who do you think was the primary target audience for the NDC's manifesto, and did they effectively address the concerns and interests of said audience?
No, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the beginning, the way that their various messaging had been targeted. Look at the launch of the Youth Manifesto, for example. A clear delineation of who they are seeking, all right, young people. And if you look at it, again, if you further down the line demarcate you're looking at urban, suburban, and of course, those in rural areas. Almost every messaging or every, detail of these manifestos are well targeted. Clearly, Women's Bank, nobody would tell you about the difficulties the women actually face in our society.
That's right.
From the economic, socio-economic perspective. Clearly, the girl child had been facing serious issues for so many years, especially when it comes to issue about, sanitary pads, etc., which actually, dampers a lot of them, their confidence, get them out of classrooms, so many other things. Clearly demarcated, all right? If you look at the, the entire, working class, you have policies that are actually immediately targeting the working class. You have policies that are immediately targeting the formal sector. The idea of 24-hour economy, very much in the heart of, the formal sector, of course, with a spillover on the informal, because obviously the informal is not that regulated. People choose when they want to, engage in terms of, their working hours. But of course, when you have a very secured economic environment, socio-economic environment, well-policing society, clearly somebody who actually sells Coffee Brookman would be able to sell at night, all right? So if we look at the broad base of the policy, absolutely targeting, various sectors or various, segments of the socio-economic, of this country. But the issue is, yes, the communication is good, the messaging is good, the intention is good. We are waiting for implementation. We do have the political will and the sense of urgency to realize that Ghana has suffered for far too long. And so this time, let's do something drastic.
Right. Well, Prof, from where you sit, which one of these messages, the key messages as put out by the NDC, which one do you think will resonate greatly with voters? And they touched on a number of issues: education, health, tax reforms, and so on and so forth.
Look, it's not that 24 hours. Look, people are struggling because there is no money. And if there is no money in their pocket, they don't have jobs. Fundamentally, it affects everything. Healthcare, even if you offer free healthcare and the person is not well and cannot take, transportation, to, the health center, the person hasn't eaten, etc. I mean, you wouldn't be able to access the healthcare no matter how fantastic it is. So there is fundamental, there are fundamental issues here, i.e., do people have decent jobs so that they can have decent livelihood?
Right.
Of course, the most important is 24-hour job creation. If you can do that and you can have a very stabilized economy, why not? Everything else will come to play.
And Prof, do you think that the NDC has articulated this 24-hour economy policy enough for the ordinary Ghanaian? And I'm sure you've had a chance to test the pulse and test the temperature with, there are a number of people who still say that they don't quite understand the concept. They cite, certain industries that they say are already running a 24-hour economy. Because you say this message resonated with the people, do you also say that it's been explained properly?
I can appreciate the different levels of comprehension of people, no doubt. But of course, we also know the mischief that others try to create. Look, this had been thoroughly explained, at least for those who listen to the the program on Saturday. I am sure that a lot of people would agree that there was an extensive attention to
radio
that policy. And so for me, even the idea that they said, well, it's a Formula 133, one job, 3 shifts, 3 people. I mean, how difficult is that for you to appreciate? For me, I think the details had been clearly stated, had been clearly spelled out. And I'm sure that people who really mean well and want to understand would do that. Of course, there is the other side of it, which is the political campaigning side of it.
That's right.
The competition side of it, where your opponent would want to douse your energy. The NDC also does that to the MPP.
That's right.
Fair. Of course, and so you would see, or you would definitely realize that your opponent would take up your successful policy and run it down, or your perceived successful messaging and run it down. But for those who really wanting to understand these things, I'm sure they understand it.
Right.
And I'm very clear that it was detailed, when it was presented.
Right. Now, Prof, political tactics aside, let's do some comparative analysis. How does this manifesto compare to the NDC's previous manifesto or to the manifestos of the other political parties? We've heard from the Movement for Change. They've come forth with the GTP, Great Transformational Plan. And then, of course, the NPP has launched its manifesto. Comparing all of this, what do you have to say?
Well, I wouldn't put you, in a clear-cut numbers or, a certain differentiation. But what I can say is our politicians, as always, had put up good intentions. They had always come out with innovative policies, ideas. If you read a Great Transformational Plan, amazing document, all right? Now, it talks about industrialization and how certain sectors would be concentrated, focused upon, and then, of course, demarcate the country according to their strongholds in terms of what they can offer, etc. If you read the MPP, certainly amazing, details in there in terms of, the issue of credit system. Of course, some would argue that the credit even in fact, people want to come out of credit anyway, but that's another conversation because obviously it is up to a certain level that the credit becomes an issue. But the credit system, a fantastic, proposals, etc. All right, the NDC 24-hour, obviously amazing thing as well. But of course, people have concerns about security.
That's right.
How you protect, others to make sure that they work in a very congenial, a very peaceful, atmosphere. These concerns are there. So the politicians are always coming out with amazing ideas that could better the lot of this country. But of course, they have always disappointed us. So this time, we are hoping that they mean what they say.
Well, that's right. Well, Prof, also, do you think that the manifesto launch has the potential to sway undecided voters? Or is it simply going to energize the NDC's base? Some people are asking whether manifestos in this day and age are still relevant.
Well, for those who might not see the relevance of manifesto, I would inform them because the politicians haven't actually followed them through. But of course, you cannot actually run a political party and run a campaign without a manifesto. How would we understand your intentions? And don't forget, manifestos or the political communication is not only for the citizens or for the voters. It has also other audiences beyond the jurisdiction. Of course, your development partners want to know what you want to do, how you want to do it.
So you mean our international friends, for example?
Of course, yes.
Right.
The diaspora want to be sure what you want to do because, look, people have investment in the country without necessarily being citizens. Somebody is sitting in Russia or America, they want to invest in your economy. How would they be able to be convinced that it's a right investment? They've got to read your manifesto and to understand, what you're going to do. So certainly manifestos are relevant. It may not be relevant to us because largely people think that the politician has disappointed. And that's why the apathy is actually extended onto manifestos, for example. But they're very important. And they are actually part of the political system. You cannot take them away.
I mean, you touch on that because some critics do argue that political manifestos are merely aspirational, or they're just more aspirational than they are actionable. In your view?
Government itself is aspirational.
That's right.
Government itself is a promise. It's a promise. I mean, if somebody tells you that you're going to give you good governance, how are you going to measure it? It is not a selling of a product. It's not even a selling of a service. It's actually predominantly ideas. How are you going to actualize it before the person is given power? So you might probably not understand, the character of, what we call manifestos. And I always say that political communication, for example, is something that maybe everybody else must understand, because we all vote. And if we all vote, we should understand the underpinnings and the theories behind that act of voting. And so it looks like political communication and political studies of certain sort must be a thought program, a thought program in many instances, because people misunderstand some of these things. Your disagreement with the manifesto or the disappointment that politicians have given us does not mean that manifestos are actually relevant. And more so, there is no other way other than giving a promissory note, in terms of, fighting for political power. There's no other way. You couldn't sanction it. You couldn't legislate it. You could only promise and hope that the person will be decent enough to actually implement that promise. There's no other way.
Well, what advice then, Prof, would you give to the NDC or any political party for that matter for future manifesto launches based on what you observed in Winneba?
Can you say it again? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I was asking what advice you would give to the NDC or any other political party for future manifesto launches based on what you observed in Winneba just this past weekend.
Well, I think that they must give a lot more guarantees. One of the things that we can learn from businesses or service industries is that when customers are very much doubtful of your ability to produce or to actually give out a certain outcome, you give them guarantees. And that's why when you're buying products that are maybe first time, into the market, or they don't have a strong brand, they would attach certain guarantees, and they will tell you there's a return policy, there's a 1-year return, etc. The politicians probably want to start doing some of these things. Think about how can you guarantee the people to trust that you would do? Maybe, signing a symbolic, and even yet symbolic in a document to them to say, if I don't do this within this time, do this to me. Of course, the president has done that, and it never worked. I mean, he said he would put his presidency on the line. He didn't do it.
As far as Galamsey is concerned, that's right.
Exactly. So I don't actually know what else we can do to restore the confidence other than delivering. Promise what you can do and deliver it. Then, naturally, the people's confidence will go up. But as it is now, our confidence in the politician is very low. And I'm not sure what else we could actually get them to actually believe the political systems anymore. But yeah, they can try with guarantees, and tell people that, well, take this action and take that action. At some point, I was even suggesting that politicians fail to deliver, we should probably take legal action,
You say legal action.
That could actually restore the process.
Well, the courts would certainly be very busy, very full if we were to hold our leaders to what it is exactly that they say. Time check, it is some 20 minutes to the top of the hour, 9 a.m. This is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. We have on the line Professor Kobe Mensah, political marketing and communication specialist at the University of Ghana Business School. We're wrapping up on this conversation shortly, but Prof, because I have you on the line, I'm sure yesterday you were watching keenly as Dr. Bawumia met the press. What were your reactions?
Well, I think that yes, it's right to sort of put some kind of details to a lot of things that happened, but I also thought that he overemphasized on some of the things that, it got him into trouble. I mean, if you look at the question about you have been called economic messiah by the former president, and he went into almost a 20-minute lecture.
That's right.
Of course, even evading the question. I think the question was that you're not speaking about the economy anymore. But he went into a tirade, and at some point, it became boring. Of course.
Prof, you say the vice president was evasive in the answering of his questions last night?
Yeah, quite a number of, question dodging in there. But again, I mean, that's what he tried to do. He tried to sort of give details to, his intentions and the kind of things that has happened. You can't fault it. But yeah, hold on. I have to go. Sorry.
All right, Prof, thank you so much. I just thought I'd get your opinion on that matter, but thank you for weighing in.
I'm coming for a training. And I understand.
All right. Well, again, that was Professor Kobi Mensah, Political Marketing and Communication Specialist at the University of Ghana Business School, weighing in on the NDC's official launch of their manifesto that took place in Winneba just this past Saturday. We're still slicing and dicing. Stick with us. It's the best breakfast show in all of the land. This is 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.
Professor Nana Jane Opoku Ajima.
92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio Station. The best in the morning is on 92.7 Sunrise on 3FM.
The chairman of our beloved party,
3FM 92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Recognize our lady, the sign language interpreter, and all of us who are here. And I want to acknowledge especially those who are outside. If they can hear me, I want them to know how much we appreciate them. They don't have the comfort of a seat, but they have kept faith, and that is NDC. We keep faith with our party. So I greet all of us who are here and those who are not able to join us. We often describe constitutions as living documents, and manifestos serve as blueprints for progressive policies and democratic development. While dynamic audiences such as these remind us all about the importance of people-centered projects. It is no coincidence, therefore, that we have met in Winneba, and this city has long been recognized as a center for development in education, culture, and vision. In Tebusiafo Momo nyina akwaba, medawana say, da wadawa wadom NDC, ama party no moya dawa mobi apo rebaka ho. Yes, obi ambra, ye jobia, ye. So we have heard the manifesto, and many of our speakers have come before me, and I want to recognize each of them. And the manifesto is the culmination of many town hall meetings, community engagements held across the country and led by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And therefore, when we call it the People's Manifesto, or that we are resetting Ghana, this is not a decision a few of us have made indoors. This is our collective responsibility and our collective strategy, having come to the collective realization that we need to move in another direction. So, I also want to recognize Professor Danso Boafo, the chair of all the efforts. I've never seen anyone so patient,
best in the morning
so
is
focused,
on 92.7
so determined.
Sunrise
Prof,
on 3FM.
thank you so much. We really, really appreciate all the work, all the sacrifices, all the tolerance that you have put in order to bring us here today. And of course, all the members too. And again, to all those who made Association Loop and Abidjan Close their second and third homes, I want to say ayuko to all of you. It has been a long walk, but we have arrived at the right destination. So we are not complaining. Actually, we are just happy. So, this launch today is the result of a visionary initiative commissioned by His Excellency Mahama some 4 years ago, and it has sustained us in the policy direction through its incubation right to its evolution and the launch today. With foresight, His Excellency asked for the beginning of crafting of what might someday become a manifesto.
Professor Nana Jane Opoku Ajima there. It's 48 minutes after 8. That's about some 12 minutes to the top of the hour 9. And let's listen to another tape and another, and then we'll get back into the conversation.
So, one, we'll put in place a robust code of conduct and standards for all government officials in line with the principles of ethical leadership, modesty, humility, integrity, and accountability. We will nominate all our cabinet ministers for parliamentary approval within the first 14 days in office. We would have named all our cabinet ministers. We will constitute the leanest and most efficient government in the history of the Fourth Republic in the first 90 days in office. We will hold a national economic dialogue to discuss the true state of the economy and prepare a homegrown fiscal consolidation program to guide the budget. Number 5, we'll commence the drafting of needed legal amendments and preparation for the implementation of the 24-hour economy policy under the office of the President. Number 6, we'll establish an accelerated Export Development Council, which I will personally chair, to promote exports as part of a broader strategy for economic transformation. Number 7, we'll convene a national consultative conference on education with CHAS, NAGRAT, NAT, CCT, NAPS, CETAG, Vice Chancellors Ghana, PRINCOF, TEWU, UTAG, PTAs, students, think tanks, academia, parents, and other stakeholders to build consensus on the improvement of our education sector, including the free SHS. Number 8, we'll scrap the following draconian taxes to alleviate hardship and ease the high cost of doing business in our first 90 days in office. 1, e-levy. 2, COVID levy. 3, betting tax. 4, emissions levy. And we'll review taxes and levies on vehicles and equipment imported into the country for industrial and agricultural purposes. 9, we'll introduce the no academic fee stress policy for all first-year students in public tertiary educational institutions, in universities, in technical universities, in polytechnics, colleges of education, nursing training institutions, under our no fee stress initiative.
My favorite producer.
We lose a life in any circumstance. It doesn't have to be an election. I think it's really a very sad event when you talk about loss of life for anybody. And so I think that it's very, very a sad occurrence if for people who died during the election, maybe out of conflict or something. So it is something that I hope the authorities, law enforcement authorities, have dealt with or are dealing with. I'm not quite familiar with the full current status of that particular situation, but the people who are responsible should be brought to book to deal with this issue.
John Mahama before that, as the Vice President of the Republic, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, answering questions on the 8 lives that were lost. Techiman, well, it's either he doesn't know or he's not aware. And then are you aware that 8 people died in the last election?
Who is unaware of this information?
Vice President seems not to be aware of this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He said it's unfortunate to lose lives in an election.
Must you be asked about the lives of the people you swore to protect before you actually speak up?
Because I haven't heard the Vice President up until...
Not even the President.
Up until now, speak on this issue. So we heard from him yesterday during the Meet the Press event that he was at. So.
Meet some of the press. I don't like that. We We applied, our names were taken off. Let that be a reflection of the record. We applied.
Right.
Our names were taken off. I've told you before that we had 2 media encounters before this.
Right.
Alan Chamanting. Before that was John Dramani Mahama. They sent invitations and followed up with calls.
That's right.
This one, nobody called us. We only had a press release that says that if you want to attend, apply.
That's right.
Through an email. We applied and our names were taken off. Let the records reflect it. So you don't have power, but you're already showing cratchy powers. Yeah. That is what it is. Me, I don't hide my feelings. I would say it's the way I feel it. You know that under the presidency of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, we have not had a media encounter since 2019.
2019,
right?
yeah.
2020, COVID was an excuse. 2021, 22, 23, 24. The last time the president ever met the public was school children from primary school, and he was telling them
I recall that.
How you remember that? How
He said that he needed Dr. Baumia, pretty much as the brains behind the operation.
He said he's using his brains to govern.
That's right. One young citizen got up to ask the question. Instead of all the people, why did you pick Doctor?
It's a Montessori question.
Well, he answered it.
And he said that he's using Dr. Baumia. Dr. Baumia too says that my government is in power, but my government is the one punishing you. But when my government comes, my government will be better. Gordon Neduji Tamaklo is the NDC's Director of Legal Affairs. Counsel, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Johnny.
Did you apply?
Good morning.
Morning.
Beautiful Helen.
Did you apply yesterday to be part of the media encounter?
You see, Johnny, I think this morning you've made a very important intervention. I watch your bite.
Right.
I watch your bite. It's almost religious for me.
Thank you. I'm grateful.
Yeah, it's almost religious for me. And you see, you become the gadfly.
Hey, slow down.
You know the gadfly?
I know the gadfly, but slow down.
You see...
Be calming down.
You see the horse. Once a while, it needs either a good bite or maybe like a stink from the gadfly.
Right.
And what that does is that it is that which stimulates, energizes, provides the catalyst for a research. And that's exactly the role you've been playing.
So we need an upgrade, not a reset. You people are getting it wrong.
You have plunged people into suffering. And you want to upgrade their suffering.
That's not what they said. Why are you doing this?
Look, Sebio, their counsel say, look, people talk without the benefit of thinking deeply. You concede that by 2022, Ghana was at the verge of Sri Lanka. No better admission have I heard than that. At the verge of Sri Lanka, under your watch. Then you say you want to upgrade to what? The suffering? Let's be serious. Look, Saturday, I was expecting you in Winneba.
I wasn't there.
I didn't see you.
I wasn't there.
You didn't have the benefit of applying.
No. Nobody asked me to apply.
No. You just come and you go. I am sad that your application was turned down.
It's not just mine. Mine, Captain Smart's, Roland Walker's.
And that is why I'm saying that
Yatitis.
Akufo-Addo, at a very personal level, is scared of you.
Oh, why?
And he had transferred that paranoia. Your presence scares him.
Oh, but what am I doing?
No, the thing is that I just said a while ago
The gadfly.
that the man is the gadfly.
But I'm only asking.
You see,
simple questions that the people want.
You are like Socrates in Athenian society.
Hey, Helen, do you remember your philosophy?
Not at all, but I've written it down.
Okay. So you were like Socrates in Athenian society. His dialectics was roundly rejected in Athenian society because he will not accept the status quo.
No.
He will probe. He will ask questions. Now, what we have been offered, and if you compare the scorecard, and I want to make this point clear, in 2016, a group of people packaged themselves as the people with the solution to Ghana's problem. 7 years, 8 months, they have become the problem we are finding solutions for.
Hey, say that again.
So, listen, in 2016, a group of people packaged themselves
Right.
that they are problem solvers.
That's correct.
After 7 years, 8 months, they have become the problem that we are all seeking solutions for. So, today, pensioner bondholders, persons who decided to live very good life, prudent, safe, by government securities, have lost 61 billion Ghana cedis, uncontested. How is that a problem solver? That person has now become the problem. But you see, H.E. John Dramani Mahama said something on Saturday. And that for me is fundamental. I want us to do a bit of, So in 1948, the US and Europe had just come out of Second World War. Europe was completely flattened. The then what you call Foreign Affairs Minister, Secretary of State,
Right.
George Marshall, together with President Truman, put together the Economic Recovery Program, which is popularly called the Marshall Plan, named after George Marshall. Now, the essence of that Marshall Plan, with the injection of $13 billion then, was to reset Europe and America after the devastating war. What we have today is a country completely ravaged by the incompetence of braggarts and arrogant, excuse my word, scammers.
Why do you describe a fellow man like that?
Persons who package themselves that they had the magic wand, the Midas touch, to solve Ghana's problem. And after 7 years, 8 months, I dare say, we now need a Marshall Plan to solve the problem that they have become. And so H.E. John Dramani Mahama, and I always say, a leader who wants to keep his promise is a leader that gives timeline to his promise. If I promise you, and I say, look, I'll buy you the latest iPhone next week. Next week is definite. I'm only giving you next week because I want you to hold me accountable to my next week. But I could simply say, I'll buy you an iPhone and do that after 4 years. The promise still exists. But in this case, H.E. John Dramani Mahama, consistent with his character, trust me and I'll deliver. Okay. He's saying that. In 120 days, so from January the 7th, my lady here will be here. Start counting the days. Day 1. Your Mahama, you say within 14 days you have your cabinet. Your Mahama, 14 days, now I cut 4 days more. When I can you? Also, my lady, relax. I don't know if you read William Shakespeare's book, Julius Caesar.
Julius Caesar, yes.
You know, when the soothsayer told him that on the 14th day of March, he will be killed. Late in the evening, he called the soothsayer and said, but you told me.
14th of March, I'm still living.
He said, the Ide of March had come, but not yet gone.
It's still in the shadows.
We are still in the shadows. Later that evening, he was stabbed on his way from the sanatorium. Okay. Right. So the point I am making is that when I say in 120 days, it is 120 days. When I say within 14 days, I'll set up my cabinet, it is 14 days. Measurable.
Okay. Let me
now,
engage.
when you give people a task and there are no timelines, it's better you don't task them at all.
Let me engage Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otri. He is joining us from the University of Cape Coast. Doc, thank you very much for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Johnny.
Doc,
good morning to you. Is my network okay?
Yes, you're fine. Your beloved region where you teach and impart knowledge was the hub for the launch of the NDC's manifesto launch. First question I want to ask you, having listened to the NDC, do you get a sense that the NDC is ready for power in 2025?
Let me say good morning to your listeners and to Mr. Makro.
Greet you, sir. Prof, how are you?
Good, I'm doing good.
Hello, Prof, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
Bless you for your effort. I appreciate you.
I can say on authority that the NDC is really ready to take over the reins of this country. And I'm saying so just by making reference to what Mr. Franklin Kujo, the president of Humanity Africa, is reported to have said. He says, Franklin Kujo praises NDC manifesto for its clear and relatable ideas. And I have christened the delivery as the beginning was done. It was done with finesse. The delivery was flawless. And the ending was delivered with verve. That is how I've christened it. Because if you look at how Mr. Mahama came with the 25-point line, that in itself is like a summary of the most important representation in the manifesto. That is how I see it. This is my preliminary speech.
Now, then the next question is, has the NDC been able to purge itself of all the tags that they had prior to the 2020 and 2016 elections? Corruptible Mahama, bad governance, and the alternative is scary, etc., etc. Have they been able to clean themselves of that mess?
My simple response to this is that when the OSP delivered a verdict on the Eba saga, I said that the OSP has virtually given the presidency to Mr. Mahama.
Really?
That for me is a pet, yes. Because you could see that the MPP and its apparatus were not happy with the way and manner the OSP did the delivery and how it virtually cleaned the slate of Mr. Mahama. That's why I said that this particular verdict has virtually given the presidency back to Mr. Mahama. That was my verdict.
I see. And do you think that just one press conference and a report by the OSP is able to do that, clear that off the minds of the people who will be queuing to vote on 7 December?
You see, most often than not, 8 years is long enough for people to purge themselves. Now, the unfortunate news for the MPP is that they are in power and people are feeling the pinch of their policy. So when people are going to the polls, it is that which they remember first than anything else. Because if you look at what happened yesterday, for example, when the Metro reporter asked, how does she explain to a grandmother about this? If the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. And at that time, the city to the dollar, she was quoting 3 something, people said 4, let's say 4. And this time, the dollar is beyond 50 or even either 16. The 16 cities to a dollar. Now, what does it mean? Does it mean that your fundamentals are weak? Or what? How many minutes did Dr. Baumia use to respond to that question? At the end of the day, he don't even respond to that. Over 15 minutes. So, just last week at Legon campus, a bag of Gino, 55 kilos, it used to be 35 cities in 2016 and even 2017.
Right.
And now the 5 kilos of Gino rice. 170 cities. Look at the inflationary difference in terms of prices. You see, and just eggs, these are common eggs, in Kosia. It was 9 cities, 50 pesos, half a crate. 19 cities a crate. Just yesterday, the same place that I buy my 65 cities a crate. Basic necessities of life. So these are the things that people will immediately remember. And don't also forget that the MPP itself and some of the authorities have said on some platforms that because of their lack of performance, their inability to deliver the economy has virtually made Mr. Mahama a saint or a messiah, so to speak. So these are the challenges, and for me, these themselves are processes of purging, or there is some kind of purgation of a sort. So, in as much as you have not been able to prove most of the things that you leveled against the person when you were in opposition, that in itself is a purging. And finally, on the same thing, the one I said earlier, the OSP's report has been the final nail in the coffin.
I see. Will a new voter who has, for example, enjoyed free SHS and has listened constantly to the news of goodies and freebies be convinced to vote for the NDC because the NDC says that I am going to give you anything better or something better?
Well, first-time voters are always impressionable. Some of them may toe the line of their parents. Others may toe the line of their colleagues, peers. Others, too, are listening. Now, I think, is it TV3? I think it's TV3, where is it Youth Manifesto or Youth something? That's a program you guys do, and I chanced upon it. Out of 6 of the youth that were gathered by the host and asking them what will influence their decision in terms of the voting and why they will vote for this or that. Out of the 6, Mr. Mahama had 3, Chada had 2, and MPP had 1. That for me is instructive. And if you ask me, I think that this pattern is more likely to prevail in the 2024 election.
I see. Now, tell me, Doc, in all sincerity and honesty, the 2024 elections will not be a walk in the park. You have seen the media encounter from Alan Tremantin, John Mahama, and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. What do you think of the three media encounters?
Well, I think that, let me read what I sent to FM this morning. And I said, if this display, I think Mr. Alan's delivery is good, it's fantastic. He appears to know exactly what he intends to do and why he's running for the presidency. Then Mr. Mahama has done his. If I'm taking what Mr. Samson Ladi Ayenine said, that it means that the delivery was quite impressive. Very, very impressive. He showed that he was on top of his brief. Then comes the vice president. This is what I said. If this display by Dr. Bawumia is what he intends to put up in his insistent obsession for a debate with JDM, then he should be ready for an unparalleled embarrassment in his short political career. And I said, good morning. That is my verdict.
And what does that mean exactly? Because your English is academic.
And, for example, if you saw the response Dr. Bawumia gave to the second questioner, Dr. Bawumia, in the response to the second question,
92.7.
he came with a rehearsed answer to that second question. Because I said, for a while, I thought he was reading another manifesto, or he was reading his manifesto again. The man is simply not ready.
When you say he's not ready, he's ready to break the 8, no?
He was fumbling from the beginning, dodging questions, postponing some questions, referring to appropriating and reprobating, saying that you have initiated 33, but when the questions come that are very forceful and could easily indict your integrity, you look at the teamwork and then you say it is a corporate entity. Now tell us who failed this and you went around. The young lady that asked you about the fundamentals being wrong, and that the dollar rate then and now, you're using 15 solid minutes to respond to that question. Johnny, he's not ready.
But that is contrary to what the New Patriotic Party and all the campaign team members think. They think Dr. Bawumia is ready, and he himself has been asking us to give him the steer. Mofa steer, no mami. You say the man is not ready?
Yeah. For example, the Peace FM reporter asked him, he said you would abolish
92.7.
You abolish betting and other things. But you are in government. Why can't you get it done now? Then look at the response. That response has gone viral. And people are making fun of him with such response. So all these things, look at the issue of the 8 people that were extrajudicial killed. That is his fault. He's not on top of his brief. So you may be the vice president. Either you are not ready to respond to questions that came with some punchline or punches that were heavier than what you could say. I think that his leadership style, is questionable. You will have to take the good, the bad, and the ugly of your government and stop appropriating and reprobating, making it appear like you have championed ABC and D. This Agenda 111, where is it? What is the state of Agenda 111?
It's under construction.
This is a prudent decision. I have said, this drone thing that he talks about, Mr. Mahama, they don't even include that. in a state that is going to investigate once he gets the opportunity to lead the country again. There are certain things that ought to be investigated. And you see, that brings to the fore the issue of accountability, which I have mentioned. Dr. Bawumia does not seem to show that he's definitely going to give us some kind of accountability or some closure to most, if not all, the scandals that have rocked their government. So if someone else tells you that all these public interest issues, one particular presidential candidate says that he's going to institute a probe or investigation, I am even quite sure that should Mr. Alan win the election, he will equally institute some of these investigations. But how does Dr. Bawumia fight corruption? If, for example, it did not come clear with issues of corruption in the manifesto, and Adam Senenu has had cause to condemn that, Domelevo has had cause to suggest that it doesn't appear to him that Dr. Bawumia is ready to fight corruption. Corruption is corruption is an integral, nemesis. It's an integral albatross around our neck, and that is why we have gotten to where we've gotten to today. I have said all government. He does not even talk about this haircut thing. All governments have taken loans in the Fourth Republic. Let me limit it to that. How did that happen that in your period you can't pay your debt? Is it by miracle? Is it by accident? No. It is by what? Wastefulness. It is through wastefulness and recklessness on the part of the leadership of today. And you will never accept that they have made money in the economy. Because if you look at the Auditor General's report, I think 2020, 2021 or so, we were losing 4 billion. The next one that takes 17 billion, 17 billion. And so, if today our debt portfolio has hit over 730 billion, when you took over, it was 120 or 122, whichever figure that you like. And the debt GDP was around 56 or 59 or so. And you went as far as 100 and something, came to 80 something, now they are saying around 75 or so. You could not in any way address any of these issues. And yet you suggest that your opponent does not understand. The reality on the ground is that issues of galamsey. Listen to Oketesie and what he said. The nature, the destruction, wanton destruction of our water bodies. Government is helpless because their hands are deep into it. How will they purge themselves of this? So, in all sincerity, Dr. Bawumia, yes, within the NPP, they may have had a reason to take him as their leader. But it is different when you stand there and you lecture. And it is different when people ask you questions and give responses to the listenership and the understanding of viewers and audiences. That, for me, is what proves to me that he's not ready to take up the mantle.
But this was the same Dr. Bawumia who was at the National Theatre, Central University, organizing and addressing press conferences and organizing lectures. How dare you say that he is not ready when the man has had a long history of holding such public fora with confidence, zeal, and zest?
The difference is that those deliveries were monologues. The current one that he did yesterday was a dialogue. That is the difference. And so he's not used to the dialogue sections where you speak briefly and people will come with avalanche of questions. In those days, it was just a monologue. Draw up, do a PowerPoint presentation, and let people go and struggle with whatever data that you would have put out there. That was not good enough. This is the first time he's facing something of that sort. Don't forget, in one of his campaign trips, when he went out to talk about the restoration of nursing training allowance, teacher training allowance, he saw the embarrassment the young girls gave him. That is something that he's not been used to. And now he's exposing himself to things of that nature. But generally, when was the last time the president did meet the press session?
2019.
Thank you. Because they are not ready to be exposed. They are not ready to what? To give accountability. That is what is missing.
3FM 92.7.
The accountability is not there. Is Dr. Baumia going to give us accountability with respect to the 8 people that were extrajudicially killed? Will he be ready to give us accountability for Ayawasu West Wagon? Will he be ready to further give us accountability with Ahmed Swale's death or murder? There are so many issues that, as a nation, it will benefit all of us if we are ready to give accountability. And that I don't see in Dr. Baum.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. I'm grateful for your time. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Jonathan Asante-Ottare. We're happy to have had you here. Thank you so much. Okay.
Now say, what do you mean? Who says Tiniana say? Titiano and Tokro Kwan about Tiniano. It's your toy, if I would say, the umbrella, it cannot stand. And to me, now, him, Eba, Tokro Kwa, and Aqua, Miss Ramo, a brother do. Some of Banamo better so no so. Yabata shows. So no. They are for Ghana and Piagana economy. But this idea, we need chat to all. And they say, a draw day, the form on the Bay Juma, a draw day. May I so Pierre, what's on the dean or what card? Draw the bay. I wouldn't fear what for now, only so one actual one day. Now call polling station Udiwo. If you say electoral commission I know a very easy. I'm about to number. Now kona kotwa bano. Na kotsre wadwen. Yan pegi digidia takashibia obia opeso de takashibe fa abemu no ni kroni ni say nasam enye de inti na de taka so wasam there there uhia takasi so de ba ko fa abemu na mesamo obia nkotomo bi ntrefie nka say oh aben nana wenya de down enti ehia se obekoto ehia se obekwa akoto na ododio ha no moto amamia na moto amanila ante vanderpool but she makani ye kra nila ante banaman nila de vanderpool de ende nila ante banaman asking the gods of grace to pardon me, manufong basa. Masada. Touch.
27 minutes after 9. I just had Dr. Jonathan Asante-Ottare. Helen, why are you smiling?
Man, I can't believe it. What a weekend it has been. Action-packed on Saturday, even more action-packed yesterday, on Sunday, and today we're back at Post to Slice and Dice. It's every political pundit's dream this particular weekend has gone by.
Council, welcome back from the break.
Thank you. Would I call it okay, I mean, just this.
Yes, from you to Dr. Asante-Otre. So,
I think it's important that the perspective that people like Jonathan Asante Entry provide, Otre, sorry, in the national discourse are completely elevated to a different level. Why do I say so? You see, they provide a perspective that when we do, we are considered to be partisan, and that we are, as it were, putting up a certain partisan conversation. So for your producer able to get this kind of resource persons to you, they provide a perspective that we cannot easily get. And usually I liken it to like court proceedings. Calling an expert witness.
Okay.
So you have your own set of witnesses. They will come. They are witnesses of facts. What they have seen. That's why we call them a witness.
Right.
Then you're going to have an expert witness. A witness who is speaking based on a certain expertise.
Right.
Nothing more, nothing else. And what they do is that they are supposed to assist the judge, and in this case, the voter.
Right. To validate.
And so they provide what you call quality assurance. And that is what the likes of
Dr.
Asante-Otre and co bring to the national conversation. I want to urge him. You see, it requires a certain high level of courage, and boldness, independent-mindedness to go on the way they are. And I'll say this again. Look, there's so much money with the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia camp. If the lives of Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otre are only interested in money, material stuff, Akufo-Addo-Bawumia are willing to give them more. But they have chosen the path of righteousness, the narrow way.
92.7.
And that, I want to commend him for that. And your producer for fetching him wherever he is today. It provides an enlightened platform. But you see, I wanted to say something.
What did you want to say?
Again, back to my Marshall Plan conversation. There's disaster. There's so much rot in the system. The country is completely aground. How do you recover? How do you reset to create more jobs, to create prosperity for your people, to create the needed infrastructure? See, Saturday, H. John Dramani Mahama talked about the fact that there were certain taxes that he would abolish. E-levy ranked number 1. 2, the betting tax. Look, I speak to investors, and when I say investors, do you know who they are?
Who are they?
The bettors. And they say, listen, things are hard. Government is not providing us the opportunity. So what is left for us is luck. We get our small money, and government wants to take 10%.
But they've been promised by both H.E. John Mahama and Dr. Bawumia that we will kick that tax off with e-levy and betting tax.
First of all,
why are you saying you see?
First of all, April 2022, at Kempinski, H.E. John Dramani Mahama, at the Ghana at the crossroad, when he promised that he was going to abolish the obnoxious e-levy, our friends in the MPP said he was doing politics.
3FM
Not only that, I, Edwiji here, was lawyer for 3 minority MPs.
Right. I remember.
Haruna Idrisu.
Had to force in.
No. Haruna Idrisu.
Kofi Boa.
Mahama Yariga and Okujeto Ablakwa.
Right.
When we went to the Supreme Court to challenge the constitutional basis of this E-levy. The Attorney General, Godfrey Ibuadame, came to court and opposed our application to injunct the implementation of E-levy.
He was only doing his job.
I'm coming. They clapped. They said, we who were opposed to E-levy, said, man, today, the very cabinet, the very economic management team chaired by Baumia that brought the E-levy, the same people say, we will do that. Last week.
On hindsight.
What hindsight? Let the person say, I am wrong first. Look, last week, the Democratic Party in the U.S. had their convention. In this Democratic convention, Kamala Harris took over the mantle in terms of leadership of the Democratic Party from President Joe Biden. I listened to her speech. Not even in one sentence did Vice President Harris say, my boss was wrong, and that these things have been done under my boss, and that I will be different from him. Not him. Because you see, there is a concept called collective responsibility. The presidential ticket is 2 in 1.
92.7.
It's not divisible. It's 2 in 1. And that is why in Ghana, when the president is no more by reason of impeachment, death, retirement, you don't have a fresh election for the vice.
Right.
The vice is deemed to have been elected automatically.
But Dr. Baumia disagrees with you.
I'm coming there. So in the U.S., when the president is no more, the vice takes over.
But Dr. Baumia disagrees with this, your position.
That's disingenuous. That is the character of a dishonest person.
He says this is his boss's manifesto, his boss's decision, his boss's...
You see.
Yesterday you heard him, right? Didn't you?
I didn't want to give credence to what happened yesterday. Because you see, I wasn't expecting a character change just by a press conference. You see, the level of dishonesty, the discredited person that we are dealing with cannot be transformed within 2 minutes.
No. Captain, you can't be making some of these.
Within 2
Welcome.
minutes.
Why were you not at the press encounter? Why were you not there?
You see, I'm an independent broadcaster.
All right.
I don't want anybody to write any question for me to ask. That's number one.
You say our colleagues who went, questions were written for them.
Just look at the questions. You can select a few of them who went there independently to ask questions.
Captain Ba, there
are those who did not complete the process.
It is not tender. What process is that?
No, you didn't. I'm sure you were not listening. We have played the video this morning.
But what process?
The MC said that those of you who did not complete the process, go to the table, talk to the gentlemen and the ladies, and complete the process before you sign off. Who went there to do his or her own show? At Movenpick, which was built by Kwame Nkrumah, and Napo was sitting there.
So there was a process?
The process was for the 20,000 Ghana cedis for the senior journalists. I have said it on air. I am asking all those who went to come and challenge me. Because the first car that brought the money, the car is a silver Land Cruiser. It went for the money from CBG.
Okay.
The second car, which is a saloon Toyota Camry, went for money from Fidelity Bank. And the third car from, is it ABSA? ABSA,
right.
Yes. It's a black Land Cruiser. The total money for yesterday was 7.5 million Ghana cedis. I am challenging anybody to come.
So, senior journalists got
20,000 Ghana cedis. And before they will give you the money, you know what they did?
No.
They will just intentionally open the envelope.
So you
pull it up a little for you to see the red 200 Ghana cedi notes. They'll fix it back. You complete the process and you take the money.
And what was the money supposed to be for?
You met the vice president. They want to feed you. I don't have any problem. Anybody taking any money from anybody. I mean, that's not a problem.
So it was deliberate that your name was taken out?
Yeah, no, your name was also deliberately taken out.
But me, I'm not in there. Now I'm the one interviewing you.
So myself, you, Roland, and few others, our names were taken out. The reason is that if you should be allowed to go, they think that we may be asking certain questions that would embarrass.
But the other journalists were there. They asked questions that they wanted to ask.
The questions that they asked, even those ones, it got the vice president embarrassed. Watch this. If I complete all these things, what would I do if I become president? What is that statement supposed to mean? What it means is that he does not have anything to offer after 7 December.
Oh, that's not what it means.
No. So what it means is that if I do all things today, tomorrow I have nothing to do. So what it means is that I become redundant.
So I stagger it.
I become useless. I become nothing tomorrow. So the things I am supposed to do today, that your mother at the hospital will not die, I will not do it. I want your mother to die. The things I have to do today to get NABCO people paid, I will not do it. Because if I do it, you will get money and you will challenge me. So let me keep all these things and wait until tomorrow. What if the tomorrow you are expecting doesn't come?
I see. You have made some very serious allegations. 20,000 to senior journalists.
I have said it on air. When GJA went to take 213,000 Ghana cedis and organize a press conference about me, I said it. I'm asking them to come and challenge. Nobody is coming.
So our journalists.
I am daring the journalists that went there.
No, so relax.
There are few of them who left. No. I mentioned Bella's name. I mentioned Bella's name and I saluted her this morning on my show. She left before the process ended.
Right.
Yes.
She didn't complete the process.
No, she didn't complete the process. So
we were
watching.
What are you saying?
No, we were watching. They thought they were the only people there. We were all there. We were watching closely because that table that had 3 gentlemen and 2 ladies, I was closely monitoring that table.
Kojo, have a good morning.
Good morning.
Bye-bye. Hey, Eduji.
Hey, Captain.
So
now having you work.
He won't go. He won't go. The 2 plots he bought there has been demolished. It's been used for something else. Eduji, let's begin to wrap up this conversation. Yes. The way Helen is looking. Why have you dropped your spectacles? Helen, what is wrong? Why have you dropped your spectacles onto your nostrils?
Helen, why not 20,000?
I couldn't wait to come to work this morning. Good morning, everybody.
Wow.
So, in wrapping up, I entreat Ghanaians that the 7th of December 2024 is going to be the next opportunity for Ghana's second independence and to resist any attempt to give Akufo-Addo a 3rd term. It's important.
Akufo-Addo will not get a 3rd term. Our constitution says 2 terms. He admits that he's gone.
You see, the Bamia candidature is an unconstitutional means by Akufo-Addo to get a 3rd term. The 1992 Constitution enjoins us to resist any attempt to undermine the constitutional order. And I want to plead with the good people of Ghana that let us resist the oppressor's rule. 2, H.E. John Dramani Mahama is saying that there is the need to ensure accountability.
Okay.
Let me put matters in proper perspective.
Go ahead.
In the space of 5 years, I'm not talking about 7 years, 5 years, the Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration went for $13 billion in bonds. $13 billion in bonds. $2.25 billion from Franklin Templeton.
But that matter went to show. Why do you keep coming back to that issue?
$11 billion from Eurobond holders. Do you know what the government did? They told Eurobond holders that we have the capacity to pay and that we are going to produce additional oil. And so give us the money and we'll pay. Government of Ghana woke up one morning and said, How different is what Akufo-Addo has done to bondholders from what NAM1 has done to his customers? The same model. Ponzi. 13 billion. And that's why we had to go to the IMF. Balance of payment support.
It's COVID, Russia, Ukraine. You know what the problem is. Why are you trying to place it on?
Now listen carefully. 2019, the government has set up a 40-member committee.
Right. Franklin Kujo and the rest.
The depreciation of the Ghana cedi. Was there COVID?
Okay.
And so, once again, H.E. John Dramani Mahama is simply saying, you are going to write your WASI to graduate to tertiary institution.
Right.
It's a stand in readiness. He's taking that 1 year fee. Because, usually, it's the first year that is a problem. I recall my days in 2003. Yes, when I got admission, it was Kevas and Legon. So Kevas offered me economics, mathematics, geography. Then Legon gave me economics, geography, philosophy. Then I said, hey, if I go to Cape Coast, I don't have any family member there.
Right.
Struggle no bear more. But I have aunties, my mom's
can fall on somebody.
I can fall. But the first year was the most crucial. Once I entered, look, I remember those days, vacation, Guinness Ghana, they had this marketing manager called Oliver. He would recruit us and place us in various supermarkets and retail, Hawk,
right,
Malta Guinness in 6 pack, Gordon's Park,
the mini park, Gordon's
in 6 pack. So that was what we're doing. And by the time school reopened,
we had something in your pocket to go in.
Would have gotten because usually the vacation like by 3 months. So by the time we are done, would have gotten like now 450 Ghana cedis. Was enough to pay my school fees. Yes.
I used to play live band.
My school, So my school fees
Friday,
in Lagos,
Saturday, Sunday.
My school fees in Lagos those days was 80 cedis. Now 80 cedis for a year.
Now it'll be 8,000. Oh.
No, now it's over 2,000.
Yes.
So when I get that 450 from Guinness, Ghana Limited, that time their office was just that's where CDH used to be just here. So we'll go there, weekends, major sports. That's where we'll go and hawk either Malta Guinness, Gordon's Park, in 6 packs. So that money is enough to pay your school fees. And sometimes even help you with bed.
Okay, Council.
Those were the time we're struggling on Legon campus because there were no beds.
In, out, in.
And so what H.E. John Dramani Mahama wants to do is that he would take that first year fee and that provides major relief.
Okay.
But just give me 30 seconds.
We are finished with
30 seconds. You see, many households have bigger problem by reason of fertility issues. Look, people are going through hell with fertility-related issues, childbirth. But you see, there are improved technologies now that assist, but they are extremely expensive. So H.E. John Dramani Mahama is saying that one of the intervention is that if we have a government control, because most of the facilities doing AVF and all of are private and they're extremely expensive. Every woman, every man should have the benefits of having a child. And so the little he can do Beyond what we call the Mahama cares, is to have a specialized hospital for children and women fertility.
Thank you very much, Council.
I have suggested that the current site, the most expensive hole,
the National
that at $58 million should be transformed into this beautiful children and fertility hospital.
Okay.
Specialized.
I hear you. Thank you very much. Godwin Ejizamaklo, Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC. We're grateful as always for coming.
Thank you. I appreciate
this morning. Helen.
The invitation.
The assembly, but we'll survive. Yeah?
Absolutely. I like that he touched on that fertility clinic when we're here on Saturday.
Fertility.
No, it's a big topic. It's a hot topic.
Will run away from his family.
You know, people want to be as lucky as Brasami's had a set of twins and triplets, and people just want one. Just one, and the struggle is real. Like Edidri said, IVF and other interventions, they are so pricey. So this one, I think, has piqued a lot of interest for both men and women.
You're going to give birth very soon.
Yeah. We have a new leader in town. OBRNT. I'm for Madam Sibebre. When him say my baby, maybe more charcoal for whiter teeth. More charcoal. Not only that, maybe lemon. More lemon. Zinc for fresher breath. More zinc. And fluoride for strong. For naturally whiter teeth. Grab yours now.